up? Welcome back to my channel. As you know, on this channel, I love to educate you about the special needs and disability community so that you can better love others who are different than you. What I wanted to talk about today is, I believe, what every special needs mom would tell you if she could. She just is so busy being a caregiver, she can't even tell you these things. So these are my experience, and I think that I know of a lot of other moms who kind of have this same thought and the same idea. So number one, the thing that you should know about a special needs mom is that it is very hard. Our job is very, very hard. I mean, we have to deal with specialists, with therapists, we have to fight with doctors, we have to fight with the education system. We have a child who is maybe medically fragile and their needs are severe and we've lived in a hospital. We have children who maybe can't communicate because they have autism and we're trying to figure out how to get to know them, how to communicate with them, what their needs are. And the list just goes on and on. There are so many vast needs. Having a child with special needs or a medical disability is very hard, but it's all about relevance because my hard on any given day could be the same as your hard. I mean, my hard of having a daughter who lives on a ventilator and is maybe sick in the hospital could be the same as your child having strep throat for the first time and having 104 fever. That is hard. I think the difference is that my hard is a little more ongoing and it's a little more constant, whereas with the typical child, the hard kind of peaks and then it kind of levels out. So I would say that's probably the first thing that a mom with a kid with special needs wants you to know, that it's hard. The second thing that I think a mom would want you to know is that it feels isolating. It feels lonely. You feel alone in it a lot of the time because you look around and there's not a lot of moms like you. There's not a lot of other people like you. I know for me, when Noelle was first diagnosed, she was the only person I knew personally who was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. So it's not like I could look around and go ask somebody else for help or ask them what their life was like or ask them what to expect. And even with her, as she got her exact diagnosis, there's 50 other people in the country that have her diagnosis. So even with that, I can't just go ask, a handful of people or be a part of a Facebook group with, a group full of people, which I do have Facebook groups that I'm a part of, and that is definitely so helpful. But when I look around in a typical day, in a given day, I do feel very isolated. And I think lots of other moms also feel isolated. Another thing that I think a mom would want you to know is that while it is hard, while we do feel isolated, we are not superheroes. And a lot of times we get that, how do you do it? I just don't know how you do it. Oh, you're a superhero, or you just have super strength, or you're a super mom. And granted, yeah, I understand what you're trying to say in that, and I understand you're trying to be helpful or trying to encourage us. But really, when somebody constantly tells you that you're the superhero and you're doing so great and you're handling it all well, then guess what? You don't get to mess up. You don't get to not handle it well. You don't get to lose it. You don't get to be frustrated. You don't get to vent. You don't get to just fall apart because everybody else is looking at you and they've all elevated you to this status of superhuman. And I actually had a friend tell me this a few years ago, and it was the best thing she could have ever told me. She's like, Tina, you're a mom just like me, and you're trying your best, and you're doing the best that you can. But at the end of the day, you're just a mom, and you're not a superhero, and you're not above me. You're just a mom doing the best that you can. And that was so reassuring because I'm like, you're right. You are right. Sometimes I'm just a hot mess trying to do the best that I can, and I'm not a superhero. I have just been given a different circumstance and a different set of, challenges than another mom. And then another thing I think moms would want you to know is mommy guilt. I mean, we've all experienced that, mom guilt, right? If you go back to work or, when you first leave your child for the first time, this little tiny baby, and you go away and you just feel that guilt. And as you see your child get these normal milestones or accomplish things, that mommy guilt kind of starts to go away little by little. But when you have a child who is fully dependent on you completely, or who is in a hospital, who's laying in a hospital bed, that mommy guilt, it's a whole new level. And it is real, and it is hard. And for me, I know when Noelle was in the hospital, in the ICU, I could barely walk away and take a shower. And in the shower, it would be my only place that I would be able to cry, because like I said, I had to have this, face on in this front that I was so strong and had it all together. So I would be in the shower crying, and I would be having a moment, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to get back to her. What if something happened? What if she can't breathe? Or what if the nurse forgot to do this or that? And so there was this panic and this guilt of, I can't even walk away and take a shower. And with that, if you know a mom who has kiddos with special needs, I would just encourage you to, to encourage her to go do things, or to help her, or just to speak into her that mommy guilt is a thing, but we got to move beyond it, and we got to move past it, because we're people too, and we have to take care of ourselves. We may have other kiddos that we need to take care of, and but it's a real thing that we struggle with. And definitely, I think it's more constant, that mommy guilt. And I think the last thing that a mother of a child with special needs or a disability would want you to know is notice me. Notice me and notice my child. Don't try to look away and not stare, because you know what? We're there. We are there, and we're in the grips of it, and we are trying our best. And when you look away and pretend we're not there, you're not acknowledging what we're doing, and you're not acknowledging our child, you're not acknowledging our situation. And I know personally, I have been guilty of this when it comes to, a family with a kid with autism. You see them at the store or something, and out of politeness, we try to look away and we try to pretend that we don't see what's happening. And what I've come to in my own self is, the next time that happens, I'm gonna look right at that mama and say, wow, can I help you with anything? And granted, she probably doesn't need my help. There's probably nothing I can do, but I want to acknowledge her and say, I see you. I see what you're doing. Can I help you in any way? It'd be the same if you saw a mom at the grocery store with a newborn, screaming and crying, and she's trying to check out, and you can just see that it's overwhelming. We would offer, hey, can I help you with something? And not in a way of like the mom doesn't have it all together, but in a way of, that sometimes it's overwhelming and sometimes it's hard. And if she says she's fine, I just want to say to this mom with a kid with autism, like, you're doing an awesome job. You're an amazing mom. You've got this. So those are a couple of things that just from my heart and the heart of other friends I have with special needs, I think that they would want you to know that to help us, to see us, to acknowledge us, to just have an understanding of the life that it is that we go through. And more than anything, I think you could just befriend them. Just try to be their friend, even if you don't know how to do it all, even if all the extra stuff is overwhelming to you, because guess what? It was all overwhelming to us at one time too. At one time, we went from not having a child with special needs to all of a sudden having it, and we've had to figure it out. So guess what? You can come alongside of us, and you can figure it out too. Thanks for watching, guys.